Jonas Savimbi, born August 3, 1934, was an Angolan politician and the leader of the long-continuing guerrilla insurgency against the post-independence government of Angola. He formed the National Union for the Total Independence of Angola, UNITA, which fought against Portuguese colonial rule. UNITA was based in southeastern Angola and relied for its support on the Ovimbundu people, the largest ethnic group in Angola. At various times, Jonas Savimbi obtained support from China, South Africa, and the United States as a counter to the Marxist Soviet-supported People's Movement for the Liberation of Angola, MPLA, which controlled the central government.
Jonas Savimbi continued to wage a disruptive guerrilla war against the MPLA throughout the 1970s and 80s. By attacking Angolan military bases, civilian camps and leaving thousands of civilians dead. Children between the ages of 10 to 18 were also usually kidnapped. In 1991 he signed a peace agreement with the MPLA-led Angolan government that halted the civil war and resulted in free, multi-party national elections in 1992. After losing these elections, Jonas Savimbi and UNITA resumed their military struggle for control of the country, with UNITA dominating most of the countryside.
Talks were held again, leading to the Lusaka Accord of 1994. Hostilities were to cease and forces were to be disengaged. José Eduardo dos Santos, president of Angola, offered Jonas Savimbi one of two vice-presidential positions, and UNITA was also to be part of the government. Jonas Savimbi subsequently rejected the position and was officially designated leader of the opposition in 1997, a position that was rescinded in 1998.
In 1996, Jonas Savimbi indicated that he would retain control of the lucrative diamond regions in northeastern Angola, although some would transfer to the government in 1998. Jonas Savimbi faced opposition from within UNITA in September 1998 when a group calling itself UNITA-R suspended him and became the self-declared leadership. From that point UNITA was split into three factions. The Angolan government and the Southern African Development Community recognized UNITA-R as the official representative of UNITA. Nevertheless, Jonas Savimbi requested the renewal of negotiations in March 2001, and he further indicated a willingness to accept the terms of the Lusaka Accord. The government then demanded a ceasefire as a condition for initiating new talks, with Jonas Savimbi calling for the Roman Catholic Church to mediate the dispute. Fighting however continued throughout 2001 and spilled into the neighboring countries of Zambia and Namibia. Government troops continued to pursue Jonas Savimbi and finally caught up with him on the 22nd of February 2002, in a battle with Angolan government troops along river banks in the eastern province of Moxico, his birthplace.
Jonas Savimbi survived more than a dozen assassination attempts, and was reported dead at least 15 times. In a bid to defeat the UNITA rebels, there was a culmination of a protracted military campaign waged by the Angolan Armed Forces, Forças Armadas Angolanas, FAA, in Moxico. During the campaign, tens of thousands of civilians were forcibly displaced from their homes, apparently in a bid to deny UNITA vital civilian support. While in his forest hideout, he made a call to Lisbon, Portugal on the 13th of February, 2002 from eastern Moxico province. His exact position was therefore given away by the signal from his satellite telephone. Again, a member of the unit protecting Jonas Savimbi made another call to Paris on the 21st of February, 2002. The call was made approximately 70 kilometers from the spot where Jonas Savimbi was killed. Soldiers of the Angolan Armed Forces, assisted by Israeli surveillance experts, tracked down Jonas Savimbi in the remote woodlands of Moxico province, using sophisticated technology.
Having thus largely depopulated the area, the FAA finally succeeded in tracking down and cornering Jonas Savimbi's column. The Angolan army waged a tough battle to penetrate deeply enough into the rebel forces to reach Mr. Savimbi and the guards who surrounded him. The Angolan army surprised him and the unit protecting him. He fought back with gunfire, and that's why he was killed, said General Waller, who led the army in the battle that killed Mr. Savimbi. We nailed him 7 times. He tried to resist with his gun, but then he was dead, General Waller told State Radio.
The army caught up with him after killing 2 of his most senior officers, Brigadier Imbule and General Big Boy. The latter's death was a serious setback, as it deprived Savimbi of diversionary troops who had until then concentrated on attracting attention away from their leader. Jonas Savimbi was further weakened when he lost important means of communication by radio. Jonas Savimbi was not easy to catch. He knew the area very well. He was like a fish in water. He tried to lay false scents with diversionary maneuvers such as crossing various rivers, including the Louvet and Luon River. The Angolan rebel leader fought until the very end, says officers who described their final gun battle with the man who spent most of the last 40 years in armed conflict. While he returned fire, his wounds proved fatal. He died almost instantly. The 67-year-old UNITA leader was killed alongside 21 of his bodyguards on the banks of the Louvet River in the eastern province of Moxico. Jonas Savimbi was shot a total of 15 times, once in the throat, twice in the head, and the rest in the chest, legs and arms.
The army offensive was dubbed Kisande, named after a violent ant. Ms. Katerina Savimbi was seriously injured in the attack and was taken to a clinic in Luena, Moxico's capital, for treatment. Jonas Savimbi was then buried on Saturday in Lucas, under a tree near where he was killed. Savimbi was hastily buried in the village of Lucas, in Luena Main Cemetery in Luena, in the forests of Moxico province, about 1,000 kilometers, 600 miles, southeast of the capital, Luanda, under a tree near where he was killed. He had died like a soldier, with a gun in his hand.
Jonas Savimbi's somewhat mystical reputation for eluding the Angolan military and their Soviet and Cuban military advisors led many Angolans to question the validity of reports of his 2002 death. The Angolan government therefore transported television crews to the site of his final battle to film his body in order to convince the skeptical Angolan public that the apparently indestructible rebel leader truly was dead. Not until pictures of his bloodied and bullet-riddled body appeared on Angolan state television, and the United States State Department subsequently confirmed it, did the reports of Savimbi's death in combat gain credence in the country. 6 years later, on 3rd January 2008, Jonas Savimbi's tomb was vandalized and 4 members of the youth wing of the MPLA were charged and arrested. His family and UNITA officials had demanded his reburial for many years, to no avail. The impasse was broken after his longtime foe, Jose Eduardo dos Santos, stepped down as president in 2017.
Now to Angola. The body of Jonas Savimbi, the historical leader of the Angolan rebellion group National Union for the Total Independence of Angola, UNITA, is to be exhumed and reburied with dignity. Isaiah Samakurva, a leader of UNITA, said he has received guarantees from President João Lourenço that the remains of Savimbi will be returned before the end of the year.
His successor, João Lourenço, agreed to their demands, and his body was exhumed in 2019, with DNA test confirming his identity. He was reburied publicly near his father, with no Angolan government official attending.
This year, after long talks, the government agreed with UNITA and the Savimbi family to hold a proper funeral this Saturday in the village of Lopitanga, central Angola, where Savimbi's father is buried. The deal was unlocked after President José Eduardo dos Santos, Savimbi's sworn enemy, stepped down in 2017 and was replaced by João Lourenço, who was seen as a reformer. In what was billed as a rare moment of national unity, Angola held a public funeral for the UNITA movement rebel leader Jonas Savimbi 17 years after he was killed in a shootout with government soldiers that spelt an end to a long civil war.